Hey folks, in today's video we're going to rehouse a couple of my favorite slings. I've recently had a rash of mature males in my collection, so I traded them out for some slings. I recently got two Heteroscodra maculata, or the Togo Starburst, and one Chilobrachys natanicharum, formerly known as the Chilobrachys species electric blue. So let's get these slings rehoused and discuss some husbandry. My name is Jay. This is Jay's Cryptic Creatures. Come on, let's learn some things together. As you folks may or may not know, I breed boa constrictors, but keep tarantulas. I am by no means a tarantula breeder, at least not now anyway. So when I get mature males in my collection, what I like to do is reach out to local breeders to hand those mature males over so they can breed and continue to have captive bred tarantulas in the hobby. I think that's the best course of action in my opinion. So when I see a mature male in my collection, I typically have two go-to breeders. That's Steve from Arachnoid Den and Caleb from Wicked Webs. Both of them are local to my area, so that makes things significantly more convenient when handing over the mature males. Recently at a local reptile expo, I met up with Caleb at Wicked Webs and exchanged my Theraphosa apotheosis, my Orphanacus philippinus, and a couple other mature males for two Heteroscodra maculatas or HMAX, and I got also a Chilobrachys natanicharum. So these are the slings that we're going to rehouse today. Here are some pictures of the HMAX. They are a beautiful arboreal African tarantula. The bone white, the gray, the blacks mixing together. They are fantastic looking spiders. Unfortunately, I've had at least 3 mature males in my collection, so I'm really hoping for females in this go around. And here are some images of the CNAT, or the Chilobrachys natanicharum. They're also another beautiful species. These are typical to southeastern Asia, fossorial, so you don't get a chance to see them a lot, but when you do, they're absolutely stunning. Take a look at the bright blue legs. Um, I'm really hoping for a mature female. Like I said, I've had a couple mature out males, so fingers crossed this one is a female. So before we get into the rehousings, let's set up the enclosures and discuss a little bit of why I did things the way I did. The enclosure we're using is a herp cult acrylic. There's various different makers of similar type of enclosures. I like to use these as my grow outs. They're 3 inches by 3 inches by 6 inches. And because where the ventilation is located, this is good for arboreals as well as fossorials. So this is what we're going to be filling up. So what I like to do is take a very little bit of vermiculite, kind of add it to the bottom there. Like so. Let me grab our soil. And I just like to add it by hand. I find it to be easier this way. So you want to get a good bit of depth in there. So this one will be for one of our HMAX. So what we want to do is pack it down a bit. Like so. Then I'm going to add a piece of cork bark. Now, It is definitely not uncommon for these guys to burrow as slings, but we'll give them the option. This is a little bit too big. Cool thing about cork bark, pretty easy just to pop it off. Put that in there like so. Give it a sturdy base. I have some repurposed plants, fake plants, obviously. So we'll put that in there. Again, we'll give them some anchor points if they do want to dig, and or web. And we'll keep it pretty basic. Again, this is just for grow out, so they'll be in here for, you know, a few to several molts. Now this enclosure is for the CNAT. As you can tell, it's a little bit different. So this species is more fossorial. So instead of having the vertical cork bark, we just kind of have a little hide in there. We have the starter burrow, and then some fake plants here for webbing purposes. A good amount of soil to allow for that digging. So yeah, these are all of the enclosures. Okay, a bit of rehousing setup work here. We have a container with crumpled up paper towels in the corner. Got this tip from Tom Moran many years ago in one of his videos, and it's worked for me in a couple of occasions. The secondary container acts as a a secondary containment vessel. The crumpled up paper towels in the corners, if the sling gets out and starts to run around, it could find refuge underneath the paper towel, help calm it down a little bit, and let you get your bearings. Along with this setup here, you have a paintbrush that we can use to help guide the sling. I have a slightly smaller, narrower stick, and then we have ketchup to help aid in case there is an escape. I find that slings are a bit trickier to rehouse just because everything's smaller and tighter. Juvenile, subadults, and adults tend to be significantly easier. But with that being said, let's try to rehouse the HMAX. Here is the tiny little HMAX sling, kind of prepped in that arboreal type of stance that you would normally see. Again, got this guy from Caleb at Wicked Webs. Fingers crossed this is a female, but we want to get this guy over into the new home. So let's go through how I'm going to get that done. So like we talked about earlier, the HMAX are an old world arboreal, so they're incredibly quick. And again, these jam vials are kind of hard to navigate and work around or work through. So I think the easiest thing that we're going to do is I'm going to place this container with the lid off inside of the other container, and then see if we can poke its booty a little bit and get it to pop out, hopefully without getting into the greater surrounding area. There we go. So we got it in there, and notice we have the vial still in there. Not a big deal. I can get that out later once the little guy finds a nice nesting spot. All right, let's get the other HMAC into the enclosure. Hopefully this one goes as smooth as the last. Take the lid off. Make sure we can locate this guy, or gal, hopefully. So this one seems to be a little bit more buried in. Should be able to see it right down there. Probably doesn't come across on my camera very well. Alright, so let's try the same technique again. Popped up a little bit, you see? Okay, let's see if we can get this guy out. In this circumstance, it might be easier to grab. We can see that guy nestled down in there. So a couple more pokes, we should be able to get him up. Okay. And just like that, found a spot up in the corner. So this will be a nice little house for this guy for, you know, quite a while. And like before, you see how quick they are. So I'll worry about getting the vial out at a later time. And let's let him get settled in, and I'll worry about that later. A couple of things about the HMAC. Like we discussed previously, Old World from Western Africa. Keeping this guy in the reptile tarantula room. Temperatures are in between 68 and 75 in the winter, and as high as 80 in the summer. For the slings, I like to keep a moist substrate. Previous HMACs that I've had seem to do quite a bit of digging as slings. As you witnessed during the rehouse, these guys are lightning quick, especially as slings. So that was the extra precaution there. And then that's kind of the big talking points for the HMAC slings. All right, we're going to move on to the Chilobrachys natanicharum. Again, this one is an old world fossorial. Probably really hard to get him on camera, but he's right up there at the top. Like the other slings and all the tarantulas, they stay in my room. Temperatures are in between 65 and 75, as high as 80 in the summer, Fahrenheit. These guys are fossorial, so remember we built our enclosure with quite a bit more substrate to allow for that digging behavior. Slings we keep, and adults, we keep a moist soil, not soaking wet, not a swamp, but moist to allow them to do their natural tendencies. Like I said, this is another species where I've had bad luck and I've gotten quite a bit of males. So hopefully this is a female. So I'm thinking here we're going to try to do the same technique as we did the H-Max, where we'll put in the vial and then see if we can coax the C-knot out. This one, as you can see, we have a piece of cork. We have several starter burrows here, a starter burrow underneath the cork. So hopefully this guy will settle down pretty quickly. Again, incredibly fast, so be mindful, be careful, be confident. Really hard to see, but down there in that hole. Get some of this dirt out of here. There's the guy making an appearance. And just like that, quickly back down. So let me focus here and try to get this guy out and transferred. So, as you can see, just like that, he was out and about. So now he's actually nestled right underneath here in the paper towel. So fantastic that we did that. And now we'll just use one of our catch cups to coax him out. And there he goes. Let's get this closed up before he takes another walkabout. So, again, maybe not the smoothest rehouse, but it got the job done. Spider got in safely, no big catastrophic issues. So even as they got outside of maybe point A to point B and took a little detour, but we were prepped. We had the extra container, we had the tissues or the paper towels in the corners. Thank you, Tom Moran. Um, so all in all, pretty successful. Again, that's not much more you can ask for. So I would call those housings successful. We got the spiders in their new enclosures without any harm to them. Now the CNAT rehouse was a little interesting, but it goes to show you what preparation can do for you, right? We had that extra enclosure, we had the towels in the corners, so as the CNAT got in and popped right out immediately, it nestled down there, so we were able to contain the situation and then get that spider rehoused. So, like I said, all in all, a good rehousing. Sometimes things go a little bit sideways, but for us as keepers, we got to plan for that. Like we talked about during the rehousing, I find that slings are the most challenging to rehouse. The small containers, the small vials are hyper quick and uh, significantly more skittish than the adults. I find the adults are way more predictable and I don't want to say easygoing, but tend to go a little bit more with the flow. Why don't you guys drop some comments and let me know what you're currently keeping as slings and if you have any anxiety pertaining to upcoming rehousings yourself. Keep an eye out for future videos and we'll give updates on how these guys are growing along. Now, with everything being said, please like, subscribe, and let's continue learning about snakes, tarantulas, reptiles, and other cryptic creatures together.